Hello everybody, welcome to another update on the stock screener. Today we are going to talk about Verde Agritech's costs again. I said I was going to expand on the more complex details, and this time we are going to look at the feasibility study. So in this chart you can see the economics from the feasibility study. And what you can see is these are the years of production. And this is the tonnage. The revenue, not that important, but the costs are here. And then we can, of course, calculate the cost per ton. So you can see here, the first 2 years are at 600,000 tons per year. We have already crossed this. We are today at 1 million tons production and going to 2 million tons next year, and probably going to 3 million tons and approaching this period here. Now the costs, you can see them here, 10 million in operating costs. So these are the operating costs, production costs, 10 million. So if you divide this 10 million by 600,000, then you have the operating cost per ton, right? The same here. When we get to phase 2, you divide the 40 million costs by the 5 million ton production, and then you have the cost per ton for phase 2, and the same for phase 3, which is at 25 million production. You divide 200 million costs by the 25 million production, and then you have the phase 3 costs. Okay, so let's do that. So I have done it for you. Actually, the numbers are here. So if you divided the 10 million by the 600,000, then you get the 14.5, right? And I have done this times 6, and you get the $90 per ton, right? The same here, when you divide 40 by 5, you get this number, the 7. That's correct, right? When you divide the 40 or the 36 by 5, then you get around 7. Now the 7 I have multiplied by 6 to get KCL equivalent costs, and then I get $45 per ton. Same with this number here. 200 divided by 25 gives you the same here, $8 per ton. And I do this times 6, and we get $45 per ton. Okay, $45 per ton for the 23 million tons per year. So these are all numbers that come from the feasibility study. Okay. Now let's go over to the transportation costs. You can actually see here in the operation costs, it's just going to half, okay, from 90 to 45, and it stays there. Okay, so the transportation cost now there's another section in the feasibility study where they give the freight from mine to producer. And that's about $21. And these are the different regions, right? So these are the freight costs from Verde to the farmers, okay? And that's about 21.6. If we do this times 6, we have our $130 per ton in transportation costs. And this is for the phase 1. Phase 1 was 600,000 sales volume. So I have taken this for the 1 million tons. Okay. Now, when we go to phase 2, what happens? The 21 freight costs per ton is going to rise, of course. And apparently it rises to 23. So it's just a 10% increase. That's not a lot. So we're still okay for phase 2. That's about the 3 million tons that we are going to produce by next year. The freight costs are not going to rise that much, only 10%. So here add 10% to that and we have $138 per ton. Okay. Then we go to the next phase, phase 3. And for phase 3, I want to produce 13 million tons. And that's by 2024. Now, can we produce 13 million tons for low cost, low freight costs? Well, I have calculated here all the numbers from 141,207, this one, until 408, this one. And apparently we get 10 million tons for all of these farmers here. So we should be able to produce 10 million tons for all of these farmers here, and the cost is below 24. So these costs are all below 24. So that means that this transportation cost is about the same. We should be able to do this, okay? And when we go further and also take these farmers in the equation, then you see that the freight cost is going to rise more and more until we reach an average of 31 in total freight cost. So let's take 31 and we do this times 6. So that gives $187 per ton for the full 23 million tons. As you can see here, these are 25 million tons. So now we have all the costs, and the total cost can be found here below. That's this plus this. So what can we see from this? You can see that the transportation cost is about the same up until 13 million tons. So that's a very good sign. So that the transportation cost is not going to rise for at least 2025. It's actually going to go down because we go from 90 to 45 operational cost. So you can see here that the total cost is actually going down by about 20%, okay? From 220 to 180. That's 20% down. And then when we go further than 13 million tons to 20 million tons, then the cost will go back up to the original costs. As you can see here, maybe up 5%. And of course, inflation, then it will probably go up even more, okay? So we can make a chart from this. And this is the chart. So we started, so these are the numbers that we already have. You can calculate this from the earnings release. So we started with a cost of about 330, okay? And it's expected to go down because the plant 2 is going to production this year. So this cost is going to go down, and it went up here when we look at 1.4 million. So this is quarter 3 and 4. Why is it up? Because they are not producing at full capacity, of course. So these two numbers should go down by next year when they are at full capacity. So at full capacity, that's around 3 million tons here. And I have already added it here. It's 270 cost per ton. So this will probably go down to 270. And that's also calculated from here. So we go from here, minus 20% in costs to 180. So here from 330, we go down 20% to 270. So this will be our costs for next year. And you can see that it's actually declining. And that's a very good sign. Then, as we increase production, it will probably hover around here because the costs are not changing. So it will be the same here until 13 million tons. And then it will start rising because we will have more transportation costs to the regions that are more distant to the mines. So the cost will be rising a bit and eventually be 20% higher than our costs that we have here. Okay, it will be 20% higher. So that's also why I am going to update. I actually already updated it. I'm going to update my numbers here. So this is the same, 30 million is the same, but here for 23 million, I am going to add 20% more costs due to the transportation. So I have added here multiplied by 1.2, 20% more costs. But the PE is still 0.12. If we delete this, I can show you. 0.12 is going to 0.11. It's tiny. Okay, so the change in PE ratio is really small. Let's put it back. And we're at 0.12 again. So that's all that I wanted to talk about in this video. I actually think that we know our cost per ton curve, and it looks like this. Let's see if I'm right, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.